Welcome back to the last installment in our series on mixing and mastering on the iPad. The premise of all of our conversations has been you can make professional studio quality recordings using the iPad. A big component of this series has been the differences between both GarageBand and Logic Pro. As I've demonstrated in the past 4 videos, Logic Pro seems to excel in every way. It does more, it can handle more, it is more efficient with both power and processing. But that's not to say that GarageBand does not have areas where it excels. The biggest one I can think of is I can record a song on my iPad and I can pick the same song up on my phone via the iCloud. Logic Pro doesn't do that because you can't use Logic Pro from your phone. In our first video, I just gave a very quick demonstration about the process. In our second video, we did a deep dive into normalizing, how to do it by hand and how to do it with the click of a button. The button does not exist in GarageBand, but you can change the gain for individual waveforms, which is essentially what normalizing does. In the next video, we talked about leveling from a deeper point of view. Depending on how you record your source audio, in the video, we talked about adding effects and then re-leveling. If you recorded everything with your effects already on it, your leveling is basically just adding a compressor to everything as part of your processing. We did talk about different effects and how to use them. We did an explanation into how a compressor works. In our next video, we talked about your actual mixing and arranging and automating. In that video, we talked about reverbs, delays, we talked about EQs, we talked about compressors again, we talked about multi-band compressors. I showed you that GarageBand does not have as many of the options, but then I showed you how you can kind of still make it do the same thing using purchased plugins from the App Store. Today will be the culmination of all of this. Mastering, similar to automating, is technically an optional step, but you will see that the end product is definitely worth the effort. I will show you 2 ways to master in Logic Pro, and then the only way to really get it done in GarageBand. So let's dive in. First things first, we actually need our stylus for this. Let's open up our project in Logic Pro. So here it is. We have all of the gaps we left when we were doing our arranging. I will tell you right now, I have not listened back to this. The music that was playing in the last 2 videos was actually the raw MIDI recording. I honestly don't know how this is going to sound altogether. I've just been demonstrating all of the parts and not touching it in between videos because I want you to get a real sense for what mixing and mastering is like on the iPad. So we are basically learning all of this together. First step in mastering is to go to our 2 main channels. So we have our stereo out, which is what will actually be rendered. But the last time we were here, we also set up our submix. Everything else is going to this bus 7. There are 2 ways to master in Logic. There's the fast way, which is hit or miss, and then there's what would happen in a professional setting. I could, so this is method number 1, I could hit this mastering assistant button right here, and then Logic uses artificial intelligence to master my song for me. And this does take a degree of processing power. You can see that as it's running, it's shutting off my second screen. My CPU indicator is in the red right now, but it's playing back all 40 tracks in real time and trying to make it all work. AI assistant is figuring out what effects it needs to put in the background, and it's going to do everything for us. So we have a couple options here. This character, it's basically you have 4 presets for what you want the overall song to sound like. Clean is just clean. Valve is valve effects. Punch is going to put a little bit more bottom end in it, and then transparent actually puts a little bit more top end into it. This spread here is the opposite or the same as our stereo spreader, depending on which way you push it. And loudness takes the low and the high EQs and boosts them. Excite is just the high. I normally don't mess with the loudness or the excite unless my overall mix comes out sounding extremely muddy. But the width is taking those stereo spreads we did before and bringing them closer together. Technically, having after run the mastering assistant, I could just say we're done, export it, and that's the end of it. Sounds pretty good. Like, if I weren't demonstrating this, I might say this is done. But for demonstration purposes, I'm going to say I'm not entirely happy with it. It doesn't sound horrible. My waveform looks pretty even. The adjustments it made are pretty even. Like, if I wanted more bottom end, I could tweak this and lift it up. I could lift that up to give myself a little bit more bass. I could also give myself a little bit more treble. But obviously you're not here to see the easy part. So here's what we can do. We're going to stop it, back it up. We're not going to delete the mastering assistant. We're just going to turn it off. And so what we're going to do is we're going to solo the backing track. And we're going to find the loudest part of the song, which I know is right here. And we're going to loop the loudest part. And so now on the backing track, first thing first, we're going to add a compressor. I'm looking at the compressor and we have a lot of red. So we're going to set our threshold to 0. We're going to put our ratio to like 2:1. And we're going to turn auto gain off. And so now we're going to tweak the input right around 4, because we just want it to touch the 0. And then we can turn our makeup up a little bit. I normally want my stuff to hit around 3 dB over 0. I don't need a limiter. I don't need to mess with the output gain. And I'm not going to sidechain it. And so now the compressor is done. After the compressor, a lot of our instruments are in stereo, so we're going to spread them. And we don't want the spreader to be too harsh, so we're going to widen the middle. And you see how it doesn't touch anything below 180 or above 7,000? I'll normally put a little bit of color into it using the Chroma Glow. And Chroma Glow actually has settings for the master bus. And I don't want it working quite so hard, so I'll turn the mix down. And I don't need as much top end, so I'm going to roll the high cut down too. After the Chroma Glow, we're going to put a expander. and we're just going to leave it stock. We want it just barely working. And then channel EQ. And then for this, I'll look at the waveform first to see what's too high. The idea is I want these squiggly lines to be as linear as I can get them. And then, to give me a little less punch, we put it in Exciter. And so now the background track could be played all by itself, which is basically what we want, because we're going to put the lead on top of it. And then, once our background track is done, we will actually unmute our lead part and so now everything we're hearing is actually coming out of this stereo out, and we're going to repeat the same process. So first thing first is the compressor. The order does matter. I'm just looking to get a little bit of red at the input. Threshold, we're going to set to 0. Ratio 2:1. Auto gain is off. The idea is we want this reduction to kick in as minimally as possible. After the compressor, we already have an exciter and an expander. But what I'll do is instead of adding a second EQ, I'll add the multipressor from last time. And this multipressor I'm going to use one of the presets. Now the multipressor, you can actually see when it's working and when it's not. You see how band 4, it's bringing down the high frequencies? That's good. That's what it's supposed to do. I'm going to check my volume. So I want the multipressor to bring the volume down. I'm going to skip my mastering track from before, and then I'm going to turn on an exciter. I want the breakup for the guitar to come through a little bit, so I'm going to leave it right where it is. I actually might turn it up a little bit. And then, to give it some life, I'm also going to put another expander on it, but I'm not going to touch that one. So you see how it's expanding a little bit, but not a lot? That's good. Ratio here works the same as the compressor, but going backwards. I'm going to switch it to more punch. But I can hear it got louder. Reset our peak limiter so we know how much to add. So when I don't feel like fighting with the volume knob, I'll turn the auto gain on and then reset the regular gain to 0. And we are all mastered. Now something you can do, and the reason why I didn't delete the mastering, if I want to compare how my output sounds to what the AI did, I can take all of this and bypass it, and then just turn that on and kind of compare how it sounds. So to me, mine had a little bit more pop, and I like that, so I'll swap it back to how it was. I will actually put a channel EQ at the very end just so I can see a visual representation. Like, I won't change anything. So this is just the raw signal. I'll just look at it. Aside from this high peak right here around 2000, which is that expander, it looks pretty even. So what I can do is I can either turn this down right here, like this, to flatten it out. And then I don't need this or this or this. We are peaking here. So now this is done. Before you render, make sure you turn off your loop or it's only going to render the loop. So our song is done in Logic, both methods. So now I'm not going to close Logic, I'm going to minimize it for a very specific reason. And I'm going to open up GarageBand, same project as last time. So it automatically will open the last thing we had opened. Now, to master in GarageBand, there's only one way to do it. I have to take my entire song and I have to render it. To export a song in GarageBand, you have to close the song as if you were starting a new one. This won't work from the File Explorer. You have to do it from within GarageBand. So I close it, it saves it. Here are all of the other songs I've done. Long press it, share. And now if you do this in File Explorer, you won't get this menu. You'll get like the regular file sharing menu. So that's why you have to do it from within GarageBand. By exporting it as a song, I can pick my quality. Let's just do Apple lossless. Generally, I actually do 48 or 96 kilohertz at 24-bit, but as you see, there is no option here for custom. So this is what it is. It's got my name. I don't want to camera image share. All right. So now that that's done, in order to master in GarageBand, we have to export the song, and then we have to open it, normalize that. You basically just want to get it to where you can see it's not squishing the waveforms. And now, just like before, we'll loop the loudest part. And then plugins and EQ, no noise gate, but yes compressor. Just like before, compressor kicks on at 0, 2:1 ratio. We're going to turn the gain down. We don't want to make it louder. And now remember, GarageBand doesn't have the multipressor, but we have one that we purchased. So let's get rid of this. And we're going to put in our multipressor. And we're actually also going to put in a EQ. So EQ first. And then compressor next. All right. I'm going to move the EQ to the end. And then we go in and start tweaking. So the visual compressor, I'm going to turn on the analyzer. All right, so we're heavy on the bass, so let's turn that down. There's basically nothing in B. Let's turn that up. Let's turn up C as well. All right. So that's done. So now that our compressor is done and our multiband is done, let's see what our EQ looks like. All right, everything does look pretty flat. Actually, right here. And then last thing, it'll be our visual EQ, just to see what we did. Turn the analyzer on, and it looks pretty straight. Actually, it looks like above 4, that's done. I kept Logic Pro open for a reason. Let's say, because you remember in the very first video, I said that Logic Pro and GarageBand talk to each other. If we are fairly new to music production, and we don't know what all of those things in Logic Pro do, so we feel more comfortable working in GarageBand, but we don't like the way it sounds being exported, watch what we can do. If I close GarageBand altogether and then open up Logic Pro, here, this My Song is the GarageBand song. I take that and it asks me, do you want to convert this? Why, yes, I do. There's the exact same song, except now we're in Logic Pro, and I can take it. None of my buses are there because I didn't have them in GarageBand, but I can tell it to come over to my presets. And anything here that is hot pink is for the stereo out. Drop that there. And now my song is mastered again. One way to master in GarageBand, 2 ways to master in Logic Pro, or do all of your recording in GarageBand if you want a very simple interface, and then master it with your full effects suite in Logic Pro. Having said all that, we talked about recording, we talked about mixing, mastering, and by mixing and mastering, we did all of the steps. So you're normalizing, you're leveling, you're arranging, you're automating, you're mixing. We just finished mastering. You can feel free to watch, rewatch, feel free, actually please comment, share, like, subscribe. I'm running out of ideas of things to talk about, and I'm still super early into this vlogging journey, so any questions I can answer are welcome. As always, may your gear be light, your latency low, and your dogs quiet while you track vocals.